Hello, Internet. My name is Chamomile.
And I'm Requiem too.
I mean, no offense, but I prefer the original.
Yeah, it's too bad what happened to him, though.
I mean,
Thankfully, the spaceship has a cloning vat.
these things do happen on spaceships. Space communism is a real menace.
Thankfully, I've had all of his memories uploaded into my mind, so we should be good to go.
Yeah, that's convenient. It's basically like, I can kill any number of Requiems and never actually lose anything. Whole new vistas of possibilities are opening up to me. I sure hope I went in the right direction. Yes, okay, here's Udina. That was quite an elevator.
Captain Anderson is stepping down as commanding officer of the Normandy. The ship is yours now.
Oh no, what bad news.
And you know the crew.
Who is Captain Anderson's voice actor? Like, he's done a lot of stuff, right?
I have no idea. I can't even keep track of regular actors where I can see their face on the screen.
Keith David, who has done...
Hey, I didn't say it wasn't right. I was just asking if this was a forced retirement.
And it's time for me to step down.
What kind of leads do we have?
Saren's gone. Don't even try to find him. But we know what he's after. The conduit. He's got us Geth scouring the Traverse looking for clues.
We had reports of Geth in the Pharos system shortly before our colony there dropped out of contact, and there have been sightings around Noveria.
Find out what Saren was after on Pharos and Noveria. Maybe you can figure out where the conduit is before he does.
Anything else?
We have one more lead. Matriarch Benezia, the other
Alright, so we have to do Liara either first to complete the party or last so we can see her go insane.
I've never done her last. I want to see her go insane.
Okay.
Her name's Liara, Dr. Liara Tassoni. We have reports she was exploring an archaeological dig.
He's Dr. Facilier.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so we want to do Pharos or
Oh, he was the
Noveria?
cat in Coraline. He's done a lot of voice work, I know.
Guess I'll go with Pharos.
Pharos might still be alive.
That's the weird plant place, I think.
You're a Spectre now. You don't answer to us.
Your actions still reflect.
I think he's the Flame King on Adventure Time. Yes, he's the Flame King on Adventure Time.
I'll try not to make things any harder on you, Ambassador.
Glad to hear it, Commander. Remember, you were a human long before you were a Spectre.
Although I did do a brief stint as a Krogan.
Captain Anderson can answer any questions you might have.
So, you retain all of Requiem's memories.
Yes.
Decontamination in progress.
So, he was reading a book.
Yes, and he hasn't finished analyzing it, so he's gonna look into more stuff. No, I did notice,
Wait, he is
you know...
not you? I thought you would have to pick up where he left off. Did he actually die? Was he actually blown up by those commie mutant terrorists, or are you just, like, kidnapped him and are using him to do all the research?
I mean, it's not like it negatively affects you either way.
That's fair.
Everyone on this ship's behind you.
Now, so I do have all his memories, so I've noticed something interesting. You chose to make your shepherd have red hair. Why was that?
Find Saren before he finds the conduit.
I'm sure.
I won't lie to you, crew. This mission
Yeah,
isn't
no.
gonna be easy.
We got that on video. You can see me go into the character creator, decide, you know what, fuck it, and then leaving without making any alterations.
But why did you decide to fuck it?
Now it's time for us to step up and do our part.
I mean,
for the rest
because
of the
spending an
galaxy.
hour in
Time
menus
to
is
show
terrible
them what
footage.
humans are made of.
Wherever Saren goes, we'll follow.
Wherever he searches for the conduit, we'll be there. We will hunt him to the very ends of the galaxy and bring him down. Humanity needs to do this. Not just for our own sake, but for the sake of
I mean, I've kind of
every
been
other
generically
species in Citadel space.
gravitating towards Paragon
Terran
option
must be
just because
stopped,
Renegade
and I
is so
promise
often
you all,
sociopath,
we
but
will stop him.
Yeah.
Well said, Commander.
that's how I usually do it. But, you know,
Fancy speeches when you stop Saren from finding the conduit.
I'm kind of wondering, maybe I should just go with the sociopath options, you know, be honest to myself, be true to myself.
It's really hard. These games make it hard. Like, there's always the correct option. It's like the goody two shoes option. It's very hard to play against that in RPGs.
Yeah, no, you can tell that in these good evil choice systems, that the good option is like, you know, what the writers want to write, and then the evil option is what they feel obligated to write as, like, you know, a gesture towards player choice. Oh, that's right. I can actually use the galaxy map now.
Then one of the issues in Mass Effect specifically, Paragon is played by the rules, Renegade is loose cannon, but they also each, like, Paragon is nice to aliens and Renegade is human supremacist, which you shouldn't have forced those two things together. Like, why can't I be a play by the own rules for guy who is nice to aliens? Like, as it seems like the ambassador Udina is a plays by the rules type who doesn't like aliens. Like, that should be a valid option. But like if I want to be a loose cannon, and it's not like the Alliance. That's the name of the human government, right? The Alliance. Yeah. It's not like the Alliance is like pro-alien. It seems just kind of about aliens. Like, it's relatively pro-human, so like being more pro-alien, it seems like it should really be a valid Renegade choice. But like,
and
what they wanted to write is you play by the rules and also you like aliens.
Yeah. I mean, it would have been, you know, twice as much writing effort to actually separate those out into a two-dimensional alignment chart rather than a simple spectrum from sociopath to Boy Scout. But, you know, I'm just...
Even then, like, Renegade should not be sociopath. It should be loose cannon. Like,
right.
People like loose cannon characters. Like, that's the default action hero, honestly, and it's so hard to do in most video games that give you that choice.
Which is weird, because, like, player behavior defaults to loose cannon. Like, you get the quests done, but you rarely have a player who gives much of a shit about collateral damage. Like, a loose cannon who gets the job done is default player behavior. You know, even if it is less out of, like, cynicism with the system and more out of just apathy towards the inhabitants of the game because they're not real people, but nevertheless, you know, go ahead and build the story around that, because that's the character that a player's natural disposition will guide them towards as the only real person in a world full of machines. I think I'm going to the right place. No, hang on.
I was playing Oblivion. I got to the quest. I did the Dark Brotherhood quest, and then I got to the quest where you have to kill this old lady, and I could not do it. Like, I had to abandon the whole quest line just because I couldn't kill this representation of an old lady on a computer.
I mean, in a game like Oblivion, you know, the world building there and the character is... It's not awful, but it's mediocre. Which means whenever I get to a point like that, I always just kind of shrug and be like, yep, I guess I'm murdering old ladies now. Gonna be honest, don't super care about these people.
This is why you're so blasé about the Requiem clones.
Clones, plural? Do we have more?
Why?
I mean, I'm just trying to work out exactly how expendable you are.
There's a whole cloning of that.
How fast can it operate?
Judging by time frame, like, at least one a week.
Okay, so I've got to try and keep the casualties down to a dull roar.
Equalizing
Yeah.
with exterior atmosphere. Logged. The commanding officer is ashore. Exo Presley has the deck.
Oh, wait, no, this is corporate mafia town, isn't it? Or is this the colony? No, this is the colony. This is the plant colony.
We saw your ship. Fight Dan wants to speak with you immediately.
Who's
Ooh,
Spidan?
why? Where?
He's our leader. He needs your help to prepare for the Geth. They are making another push. Please, up the stairs past the freighter.
No.
Well, you weren't wrong. Oh, God damn it, I've got to figure out how to switch weapons. There we go. That makes sense.
So on a scale of 1 to Ferrum, how cute do you find the Geth?
I would give them like a solid 7 out of Ferrum.
So pretty cute.
Yeah, pretty cute. Like, they're definitely not full-on Ferrum level adorable. Like, you know, I would not want to take one home and keep it as my pet cat. But like, I don't know, I find the one eye thing, like, they are a little bit adorable. I think they're actually a really good balance between, they actually, their whole one eye thing looks distinctly non-human, but like, they don't look like some kind of cyclopean horror, right? They actually look pretty friendly and approachable. I mean, these ones specifically are shooting at me, which is less approachable, but in general.
So...
And, you know, for creatures who have their own reasons for being the antagonists, and, you know, who are ultimately the victims in the entire Quarian Geth conflict, right? Like, I don't blame individual Quarians for their situation, if nothing else, because Tali is best girl. But
She is.
the Quarians as a whole are, like, at pretty much every stage, the aggressors in the Quarian Geth conflict. Now, in fairness, the Geth are at every stage the aggressors in the Geth-human conflict. So, you know.
Yeah. So,
But you can see how they would take a dim view of organic life when, you know, they gained sapience and, you know, they were like, Master, am I a real boy? And the Quarians were like, oh shit, kill them all.
So are you familiar with the concept of the uncanny valley?
I am. It's pretty well understood. I don't know if we need to give it a recap.
Have you read the essay?
I haven't read the essay, but it's sunk into the popular consciousness.
Well, I think maybe we should give it a recap.
All right. Is it different in the essay than it is in the popular consciousness? Or
I mean, sometimes it seems like it. The uncanny valley, is the whole thing where you get closer to looking like a person and a representation of a person. The closer it looks to a person, like there's a point where you hit where it goes from being more empathetic to being kind of creepy.
right, it goes from a box to a smiley face to a zombie to an actual person.
Yeah. The original essay by Masahiro Mori. And he talks about this.
About the Uncanny Valley? In his essay on the Uncanny Valley?
No, he talks about...
Because I was about, you know, that sounded like it was probably part of a greater thought, but then you didn't continue. I was like, is that it? He talks about the subject of his essay in his essay. Well, good. I assume you're looking something up, though.
Yes.
Like, I'm giving you shit. I'm mugging for the camera right now, but, yeah.
So, like,
I mean,
if you've ever like worked on art, one thing you'll notice when you're doing art is like when you have a pretty realistic drawing, like small errors will be more noticeable. The more realistic you make something, the more those tiny errors get noticeable, which is why a lot of animation tries to stylize it. Like
Indie
how
games
this,
too, and the AAA scene would be better served following suit. A
yeah,
good
like you look
animation
at,
style is way better than photorealism for exactly this reason, especially if you're on a budget. But
like you look back at like the games from like right when you start transitioning to 3D. The games that actually look the best are the ones that stick with the sprites. Like, and a lot of games will then have like some sprite and then some like CGI effects, and like the sprite stuff looks so much better than any of the pure like 3D stuff that they stick in there. But like, so one theory is that the cause of the uncanny valley is that
you're big.
it's something that it looks like it makes a person look diseased. So because like and the most uncanny thing in the story in the essay is the walking corpse, which you can conceptualize as just being a diseased person.
The Geth will be back. Updates by them, but don't
So the Geth avoid the uncanny valley because they sidestep looking human at all. They don't even have faces. They end up looking cute. They're on the left side of the uncanny valley. The actual people in the game are somewhere in the uncanny valley. Like our shepherd's
Yeah.
a little.
Like, I don't think they're
off.
deep into it. I think they're still pretty close to the left side of the valley, but they're definitely in there.
Oh god, they're everywhere.
I don't know. Did we talk about the different like NASA space, the Mars robots, their level of cuteness?
Not on camera.
All right. Well, the reason we can even say they're cute at all is because they're not anthropomorphic at all. Like attempts at making anthropomorphic robots can frequently be really spooky.
Yeah. While we're on that subject, though, brief tangent. Just because that conversation was prompted by the XKCD comic, in which Randall Munro claims that the more recent rovers are cuter than the last batch, which is clearly incorrect. The original rover, and I can't remember the names of which, I know Spirit and Opportunity and Curiosity and stuff, but I can't remember which is what generation.
This valve looks like part of a large system. There are likely others we need to activate.
I guess I'm just completing the quest without having picked it up. I have no idea how to get back to the colony head. But, so the original Mars rover, first rover that NASA dropped on Mars, was basically just like a box with an antenna sticking out, right? Pure left side of the chart. And then they had the next two, including the one that lived forever. I think that one was Opportunity, but I'm not sure. And that one was... Like, those ones are adorable. They have little camera faces that are just the best. Okay, I'm going to go back and try to find the actual source of this quest before I complete it. And the most recent ones look like Spirit. I'm pretty sure it is Spirit and Opportunity, then Curiosity is the new one. So Curiosity looks like, you know, Spirit and Opportunity's bigger, meaner, older brother that just got out of prison. Randall says they're cuter, but like this is clearly like, you know, the heavy-duty upgraded. This is the second stage Pokevolution of the previous one. Like, you know, it's even got that sort of Pokemon-esque, you know, mid to late stage evolution of cute yet also menacing look. No idea where the hell whoever is.
And that's one explanation of the Uncanny Valley, is that it is reminds us of something being someone that has a disease. Another explanation is like it's any sort of would be the more Freudian explanation, and that's where the term the uncanny comes from, is that a simulacra is a representation of the soul and is, let's say, memento mori, like it's a reminder of death, something that pops up and looks like a human but isn't, is essentially like if you see a duplicate of yourself, it's your soul outside your body, so it is a reminder of your own mortality. Another way to interpret it
that sounds a lot like, and Freud does this a lot, a specific thing that he thinks of that he has decided is universal to all of humanity.
Honestly, a lot of Freudian stuff you run into is they will reference a idea that makes more sense and then kind of offhandedly dismiss it. Like in The Uncanny, when he's talking about E.T.A. Hoffman's The Sandman, and the eyes is representing the phallus, and so losing your eyes is castration. He's like, now one could just say that the eye is a very important organ, and that's why people are concerned. They don't want their eyes to be gouged out, and then he just kind of offhandedly dismisses it. It's like, no, that seems correct. Like, you can't just hand wave that away. But another way to interpret it would be like fear of being replaced. Cam and I have talked about this a couple times. There's this one SCP, I don't remember which one, where these vague human simulacras keep appearing in parliaments and the United Nations, and they seem kind of human but aren't. So just the idea that they might be, they represent some force that's trying to infiltrate or replace humans' leaders. Generally in literary criticism, I feel like it's good not to take a hard line on any of this stuff. You don't have to say one is the correct one, but there's different ways to look at like why things are uncanny. Like you think of like I think the movie was, I'm gonna look up the name of this movie really quick. Yeah, in the movie Single White Female, there's this one, so she gets a roommate, and there's this one very chilling scene where she sees her roommate has now cut and dyed her hair to be the same as her own. And it's chilling, it's uncanny. She's seeing this image of someone who looks like her but is not her, but it's not necessarily, doesn't see her as a diseased person. You can make a case for it being a memento mori, because like eventually this woman is going to try to kill her, but it's also like she's trying to kill her and replace her.
Right.
That's a very literal version of that, but you can see it in sort of like anything that looks kind of human but isn't. I think I cut you off, sorry.
Well, I was just saying that, she's scary because she clearly wants to replace her, and in order to replace someone, they can't be around. Which is also what makes the infiltrators seem threatening. Partly it's because they're replacing specifically powerful people, which suggests that they might be trying to, decapitate governments, which is probably not a good thing. Like, in fairness, we don't have the best governments right now, but still, when people are trying to infiltrate and replace your government, it's usually not because they want to do you a favor. Like, the goal of that maneuver is rarely socialized healthcare.
You could also take the more,
But yeah, and if someone wants to replace you, that requires, again, that you not be a thing anymore. Ultimately, no one can be a better you than you. Which is why, if someone wants to be you, they gotta get rid of you.
You also take I'm going to say this, I already know that Cam is going to not be happy with this interpretation.
Oh boy.
It destabilizes identity, because it raises the question of like, well, am I even me in the first place? You can think of like the there's one Arnold Schwarzenegger movie where he discovers he's a clone. So like he sees these duplicates of himself. So it raises the question: well, am I even me? You think of like in The Thing. It's not, at least in the first one, it's not super clear whether the Thing replacements are even aware that they are things until they're attacked. Like, it's not 100%. It raises questions about identity and the self to see a duplicate of oneself.
Yeah, I mean, you're not
Like,
wrong.
if it turns out that Requiem survived that explosion, he's going to be really upset when he sees that you used the cloning vat. Because there's going to be the question of, is he the real Requiem or am I the real Requiem?
I mean, and then I'm going to smack both of you upside the head and say, what do you mean the real Requiem? You're both real. I have absolutely no idea where I'm going. Just kind of blindly wandering around the colony. I'm not sure where the door I used to get in here is. Watch out, by the way, for when you see the party command thing pop up for just a second, because that's me trying to jump. Yes, do we have any other thoughts on the Uncanny?
On the Uncanny, yes. On the Uncanny Valley, not really. We can talk more about the Uncanny in general.
We may as well.
So what is the word that Freud uses in his original essay? Because it's not the German, because it's in German, obviously. What word do you think he uses?
I can't remember the German word, but I remember that it translates more directly to unhomelike.
Yeah, unheimlich. Now, there's a reason, though, that when it gets translated into English, they don't just translate it into unhomelike, because unheimlich has a double meaning in German that it lacks in English. Something that is Heimlich is hidden. So something that is unheimlich is something that is hidden that has been revealed. So think of like if you've ever been to like a school after hours or a place of business after hours, like an abandoned house, like like if you're moving into a place, like or when you move out of your apartment or move into an apartment, right before you've unpacked your stuff or packed your stuff, it looks kind of weird. It looks kind of creepy in a way that you cannot put your finger on. It's because something that is normally hidden has been made revealed. Freud has a bunch of different things that he points to as being uncanny, like the whole thing with E.T.A. Hoffman's story, the Sandman, which he interprets as being about the Oedipus Oedipus complex, since eyes are actually penises. And their Sandman gouges out eyes.
That is, of course, Freud's interpretation.
He's got a bigger justification for it, but I can't remember exactly what his justification for it is. And it's one of those things where like, okay, this might make sense within the context of this specific short story, but I don't think it proves then that eyes are always phalluses instead of eyes. But their Sandman is also interesting because one of the characters, Olympia, is you can make a case for her being an early example of a robot. She's a person constructed by man. It's a little more mystical than we expect robots to be. She comes to life because the main character like looks through her through a telescope, and like his life energy flows into her, which is pretty like that is pretty Freudian.
This one is no longer fit. We should leave him.
Anything I can do to help you?
But Olympia is
Want help?
Frankenstein. You can make a case for being an early robot too.
Help me now.
I'd rather die fighting.
Fighting what?
Not that kind of
The a person who is. I guess I'd like to. How would you define a robot, Chamomile?
companies coming.
A humanoid artificial, except not even necessarily humanoid, because you can recognize Wally as a robot. So an artificial automaton.
So is Galatea a robot?
I mean, that's kind of stretching the definition a little bit. Because robot does also have some amount of connotation of being, like, you know, made of, like, digital circuitry and stuff. But at the same time, if you refer to Galatea as, like, you know, someone's robot girlfriend, like, people would get it. It would be an unusual but not incomprehensible use of the term.
On the first example in the book that Requiem read, The Artificial Humans, first example he gives of a robot is Pandora.
As in Pandora's box?
Yeah, because in some versions of the myth, men, as in like human males, are not created by gods. It's not clear how they come about, but they just sort of exist. But then Pandora is artificially created, whereas men, as human males, are not. So the first woman is within some version of the myth, is an artificial creation, whereas gods and men came about via natural processes.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of, again, like, you could definitely stretch the definition to fit that, and people would get it. Although it isn't, like, a central example of a robot. It's not what people think of when you say robot.
I think that one is, like, if you're going to make a feminist, like, interpretation of robots through history, is one you want to touch upon, because then you get into stuff like... This is sort of being a way of cis men sort of, like, trying to recapitulate the reproductive power of women. Especially since...
Well, I mean...
You have because Pandora is then made by Prometheus. You have a woman is made by man.
I mean, I think the emphasis on the power of reproduction is given, you know, a lot more hay is made of that than it really deserves. The more, I mean, you know, we're talking, obviously all interpretations are valid, right? Like, I'm not trying to say that your interpretation is wrong to whoever holds that interpretation. I don't know if you necessarily do, because you are just sort of, God, I've so sloppy that I had to make like 3 clarifications on one sentence. Backing up, any interpretation is valid, including that one. If you like that one, then, you know, sure, by all means. But so far as, like, the motive of the original myth makers...
well, Greece was a pretty sexist society.
Oh, no, absolutely. But, like, I you know, there's a sexist motive there, undeniably. But I think what it is the idea that woman was created for the purpose of serving man. Like, I think that's ultimately what is going on there. Because, that is certainly how... Take cover, Shepard. We're about to die. But, like, you can definitely see... is that, that's how a lot of sexist media frames women, is, purely in their relationship to men. And... a creation myth that frames women as having been created for the purpose of serving men is perfectly in keeping with that. And so I do find there's no particular reason to ascribe the additional motivation of reproductive power being, somehow greatly desired. Some kind of subject. It reminds me of Freud, of, someone has a particular prefixation with something, and they generalize that to all of humanity. I mean, for starters, women can't reproduce on their own. Like, they do carry the child, and that is significant. But it's not actually a power.
The other big interpretation of robots is probably the Marxist one. Especially since, like, one of the very first pieces of definitive pieces of robot fiction is Rossum's Universal Robots, which do you know the etymology of the word robot, Chamomile?
I do not.
All right. Well, it's Czech. It means worker. And Rossum's Universal Robots features a robot uprising. So one of the very first pieces of robot literature is about robot uprising, which you can interpret as a class uprising. There's also, I guess this would be a Freudian interpretation of, like, the child inevitably seeking to overthrow and replace its father, since the fear in a lot of robot fiction is of robots replacing us.
And I mean, as much shit as I give to Freud, I do think the idea of a child seeking to replace the father is, broadly speaking... Why am I doing this with the mouse? There we go. Broadly speaking, a much more reasonable idea than most of his other... whereas most of his other things, which, again, like, the interpretation isn't invalid, but they seem very specific to Freud. Whereas the child overthrowing their father, like the Titanomachy, seems like that is the straightforward interpretation of things like the Titanomachy.
Yeah. Let's brief aside. Let's talk about Omnigel in this game, since it's a key that is also a band-aid.
Which is an interesting gameplay mechanic, but it is kind of... How did we get here? What is this gel that is both good for sealing up wounds, but also good for overriding computer systems?
Raises a lot of questions.
Like, it is an interesting gameplay mechanic that your generic RPG treasure chest keys and your generic... Oh, thank God, I think I finally found my way back to the main colony where I can find the colony leader and actually get all the quests I've completed. But yeah, your generic RPG chest keys and door keys and your generic RPG healing potions pull from the same resource pool. That is a cool idea. I don't know if the setting justification works for it outside of just, like, this is a Diablo clone, it's magic, I ain't gotta explain shit. Which is not Mass Effect's genre, so...
No, it's a little creepy. And the reason it is creepy is because of abjection, because it's blurring the boundary between us and the other, because it blurs the boundary between the biological and the technological, that this functions on both of them. I am doing this interpretation like 50% to upset you.
That was a hell of a segue. I honestly, I can't be upset by the interpretation because I'm too busy being impressed by the segue. Like, that took effort, and I gotta respect that. Is that? Yeah, no, that's the same one I found earlier. Do we want to talk about abjection?
No.
Fair.
You'll have to forgive my wife. Galanta's not in her right mind. She just needs...
If you want to know about objection, what you can do is you can just go read the entirety of Powers of Horror by yourself.
Although, be advised, there have been known to be some side effects.
What happened to your wife?
The constant attacks have strained us all. She'll adapt. We all have.
Is there anything I can do for her?
No, she just needs time. Time to absorb everything. We'll be fine.
Do I get XP for giving her
I have
time?
to go.
Please do what you can to stop the attacks.
I mean, I shot a bunch of Geth. Does that count? Here we are.
Tower's secure. Thanks to you.
I just did what I had to.
Well, I'm glad you're on our side then.
They may have been slowed, but they'll be back. They always come back.
What do they want?
If you want answers, go ask them yourselves.
We
Okay.
don't know what they're after. They came
Hey,
to
Geth.
protect us, that's all we know. Their main base is at the Exogeny headquarters. A good place to start looking if you want answers.
What's Exogeny?
It's the company most of us work for before the attacks. They fund this colony. The Skyway leads directly to Exogeny headquarters. You can't miss it.
Of course, there's an army of Geth between here and there.
I didn't expect this would be easy.
Then maybe I can get this colony operational.
I destroyed a Geth transmitter in the tunnels. They won't be a problem any longer.
Thank you, Commander. You're in your debt. You've taken a great weight off my shoulders. I just wish I had
So-
such good news for every problem.
Is there anything I can do to solve your water shortage?
While I'm hoovering up any, dozen quests here.
Please speak with her.
This game seems to be going by very quickly.
Colony's power supply.
May O'Connell was working on our power problems. She'd know more about it than I do.
You mentioned something about a food shortage.
Maybe I'm just not used to us being able to actually get through a game.
For the immediate future.
It's confusing me.
Insist, please speak with her.
But you were going to say something.
Good luck.
I was just, fishing around for a new topic. Since what I'm doing right now is fairly rote, just... Did I already do one of these? Whoops.
I'm grateful for what you've done, but your heroics don't impress me, Commander.
What can you tell me about the Geth?
That's not what I
I
wanted.
can't tell you anything about that. I suggest you go to Exogeny if you
I want to know why you're so
answers to
pissed at
those
me.
questions.
I get the feeling you don't like me.
Yeah, I mean, we're on the, the third episode, and... I don't know, we're not that deep into it.
They should have sent a small fleet. Instead, we get one ship. And you're
As long as we're talking about robots, what is your favorite robot? And why is it Ferrum?
Commander.
I mean, Ferrum is pretty adorable. Which, are you just abandoning the Ferrum as Ruthless Killbot bit, then?
You're the one who repelled that last
I mean, the thing about these bits is you would always contradict them.
kill us. We'll die of hunger.
Yeah, I know, but you've stopped contradicting them now. Like, you stopped holding up
Are you doing
your
anything
end.
to remedy the situation?
I need to boost
Well, I'm
Well,
not
you guys
actually
haven't been
Requiem, remember? I'm a clone of Requiem, so I'm not going to go along with his bits.
totally uncontrollable.
I mean,
I can't do anything until he's dead.
I still
If
hold
he
you
if he
responsible.
has survived that explosion, I'm sure he will deny this, but Ferrum is adorable and just wants to be hugged.
Big Baron. The rest are yours.
Excellent. I'll organize a hunt when the immediate threat of the Geth is gone.
How many dogs does he have at this point? 18, I think?
Tell them aboard so I can get back to more important things.
And a cat
I don't want to
that
delay
lives
what
inside of
I
him.
already have.
Is he only on 18? I thought he got up to 24. Maybe I'm wrong. But yes, Eve from Wall-E is pretty cool.
I've never actually watched Wall-E.
You say that again?
I've never actually watched Wall-E.
Never watched it. Okay.
Commander, what can I do for you?
Guy living down in the tunnels.
But
That would be
I do like the whole Apple aesthetic.
Tell me about your colony.
life is hard and often brutal.
Okay, I'm just looking for another list of side quests.
Colonial affairs.
Okay, I know I did the Varen one. I forget if that's the food one or not.
I guess they weren't counting on the Geth. But despite everything, there's something tranquil about this place, unlike anything I've experienced before.
I'll talk
Okay,
to you when
whatever.
I learn more.
Good luck.
I'll just assume that I have successfully hoovered up all of the side quests then. Means I just need to find the last water valve to turn on, which I was not able to find even while futzing around this place for like ever. But yeah, it is kind of funny how far we've gotten just because of how completely lost I am in this game.
Well, it just seemed like you got, like, basically every party member at the Citadel instantaneously.
I mean, that's just Mass Effect, though. You recruit those guys one after another. I guess you can knock off and do side quests for a while, but I'm not sure how many are even available at that stage in the game. It might just be that, you know, I hate my boring human party members, so I always prioritize the main plot in that first stage so I can get all the sweet aliens. Which is weird because Joker is actually a really cool character. You know, for obvious reasons, he wouldn't make much of a ground an away team member, but
Yeah. Bioware is getting better at having, like, characters who are compelling but don't have to be part of, like, your combat squad. Like, one thing I did like about Dragon Age Inquisition is you did have your three advisors who all felt like party members, even though they never actually were part of the party. Cullen, Josephine, and Liliana. And, like, Cullen and the funny thing was, like, Cullen and Liliana totally could have been party members, because, like, Cullen is a Templar, and Liliana was a party member in the previous game. But then you got Josephine, who has no combat skills, but still feels like it's good that you have her working with you because of her social skills, and she does a bunch of, like, diplomatic stuff.
and if you think about things like the Citadel DLC, where a lot of the parts that people most like about the BioWare companions and party members is just the dialogues you have with them. So, like, I think it would be entirely fine, mechanics permitting, and BioWare's combat has never been its strong suit, so the mechanics will probably permit. I think it would be totally fine to have a game in which you don't have any party members. You just have a bunch of cool people who hang out at, like, the local inn or back on your ship or, you know, whatever home base you've got based on, you know, the genre and the plot. And it would definitely make sense if, you know, some of your friends went and helped you. Like, if they're able to fight, it would be weird if they just sat at home while you did all of the fighting. But I do find it entirely unnecessary. I think it would be fine if, you know, any number from none to all of your party members were purely non-combat. So Jade Empire had a couple of non-combat party members, but with the exception of the engineer guy, they weren't really any fun.
Yeah, you didn't interact with them much. Jade Empire really felt like it was a pot boiler. Like, this was to keep the lights on while they worked on Mass Effect.
There it is.
There, that did it. The system is active.
So Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. I love that game so much that I didn't mind playing it like on top, off screen, on top of the on-screen recording, basically. So I would run through an area on my own and then come back and play it for the recording, which allowed me to sort of speed through it. I'm not sure I like Mass Effect that much. Like, it's a good game, but I don't know if I want to run 2 playthroughs right next to each other. I guess, that's a pretty high bar to clear.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, I missed the Geth transmitter back there. I guess I should go clean that up. But yeah, it does mean that, it's right as I'm starting to remember what the layout of this map is actually like. That's, the moment when we're done with it. Oh, I missed the word. Viewers will no doubt note that, unlike Cusco, I am not an emperor and do not have an innate sense of direction. Which is apparently something emperors have. I wouldn't know. Guess it must be upstairs? Didn't I already blow this one up?
I have no clue.
You know what? I don't even have a particular quest for it, so whatever. Also, I have no idea where my party members get to. Like, their pathfinding does not do a great job of keeping up, and they don't seem to teleport back into position if they get too far away from me. Which is a little bit jarring, but I still feel superior to, just letting them string themselves out. What's up, guys?
These people are brave, but the Geth are relentless. Mike will know this better than anyone.
Those goddamn robots fighting back when we tried to kill them all. Which I say try to kill them all, but what actually happened is that we asked them to please all commit suicide, and they said no. I do really love the world building of Mass Effect, though. There are so many stories in here. The Quarians and the Geth, the Solarians and the Krogan and the Rachni. There's so much going on.
Who is your favorite BioWare romance?
I mean, I've never been a huge fan of them. I'm not a super romantic type in the first place, right? Like, I can definitely get swept into a romance, but that's where I'm trying to head. Oh, I am trying to head right past it, though. Okay. But yeah, like, I don't know if I've ever really enjoyed a BioWare romance. Especially they do all, like, we've talked before, but I forget, it may have been in the Jade Empire playthrough, which I can't even check because of all the fires.
Commander, what can I do for you?
I'll talk to you when I learn more.
Good luck.
Hey, can I turn in quests here? Nope. Okay, bye. Yeah, no, they're further along there. Okay. But yeah, since we still don't know what happened to with the fires, and in any case, even if we did, mysterious fires destroyed all footage of the playthrough. So I'm not sure if it was in the Jade Empire playthrough that we talked about it, but there's the BioWare romance problem of the more like it's strange that almost everyone is bisexual, and it seems like the characters warped their writing in order to suit whichever romance you want, but at the same time people tend to have one favorite waifu or husbando, and if you don't, if that person can't actually be your husbando or waifu, then that is super disappointing. So, you can either have more consistent characterization where the characters have specific sexualities, or you can actually do the romance thing, which is really popular with BioWare, so I don't blame them for taking this route. That was the smart choice. You had to pick one of the trade-offs, and that was the right trade-off to pick. Yeah. But yeah, you can have stronger characterization with not just sexuality, even although that's the most obvious example, but even just like these romanceable characters, they don't care if you're Paragon or Renegade. They don't care. There are some options in your specific interactions with them that will lock you out. As a general rule, if you are a total asshole to them, then they will not want to romance you. So, there's at least that bare minimum of believable character interaction, but the BioWare romances do tend to feel kind of hollow to me for that reason. Like, I get why they got there, and I'm in the minority on this, so, BioWare made the right choice, but
It's like in first Dragon Age, preferred Alistair, but he wasn't a male option. Then in Inquisition, preferred Cullen, not a male option. And then I did not like either Anders or Fenris in Dragon Age 2. I romanced Anders and then regretted it after he blew up the Chantry after I'd spent the entire game trying to, keep the peace and not have the city destroy itself. And he blows up the Chantry without telling me the guy he's allegedly in some sort of romance with. And then Mass Effect, I didn't even have a male option, so I just romanced Tally because she's best girl.
Oh, is there no
at least in the first two games. In the first two games, there's no male option. In the third game, which I never played, yeah. In the third game, I think they made Kaden romanceable, but in the first two, it is just the only romance options are Kaden, Ashley, and Liara. Ashley is male only, Kaden is female only, and Liara is either. I think they made... I haven't played third. I think they made both Ashley and Kaden same-sex romance options, but I haven't played it, so I don't know. Ah, yes, the worst part of the game!
I hope this game has a good autosave system. Because I was paying no attention to that at all.
Something our viewers missed from Jade Empire at one point, Cam died, and I was like, man, whoever invented autosave is definitely going to heaven. And you went, not this guy, because we just lost 3 hours of playthrough.
Right. Oh my god.
How much playthrough did we lose? Have we lost the entire session, basically?
Holy shit. Seems like just about.
Amazing. You know what? Hold on.
Let me go talk to Fidan, and we'll see how much I've lost exactly. Oh, yep. We're all the way back here. That is, like, all of Pharos. At least I know the layout now. Okay, so what were you about to say? Now that I have confirmed that, yes, we have lost everything. This autosave engineer is also going to hell.
How long have we been playing? Is this an episode?
Yeah, that's an
right.
episode.
You know what? I'm done. You can find Requiem 3. Bye.